And in my whole life in show business, this is one of the only things we wrote that there were no notes. So I'll get from
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we made, I don't know if you've seen the video. The guys have posted some of it. We made a video of just us reciting the lyrics with Justin and I just playing a little bit. And yeah, they just kind of went, yeah, that's it.
I realized you all have worked on the same projects like Smash, which I used to watch week to week and was crazy about. So that's cool for me.
You don't watch it anymore?
It's been a few years. I'll come back when it's on Broadway. But I had you ever collaborated on an actual project before other than just being kind of involved in the same general thing?
No, we didn't even meet them on Smash. I don't think they were all in separate worlds.
But I do know that they were the nice people who allowed us to get the job on Smash. And that was our first TV job ever. And I don't know if I ever said this to you guys, but like, I hear that you guys were like listening and like that you like approved our song or whatever. So they're the reasons why I got our first television job.
We had to jump through their hoop to be able to be approved.
That's a black line.
Yeah.
they never listened to us about that part of it.
Yeah,
We did recommend them. I remember saying you should get these young whippersnappers.
But no, we've been Justin and I have like loved Mark and Scott for forever, but we've just been fans, and Smash was a huge opportunity for us, and it was the first time honestly we ever had a song on television. So it was huge for us, but we have just been fans for a really long time, and I've always wanted to play in the same sandbox and never thought that we would ever get the opportunity to do so, and then this became an amazing opportunity to do so.
Does that mean that Justin mentioned you two got them involved on Only Murders? Because I believe you two worked on more songs. So did you kind of, was it the
the way that it kind of came about was it was like all this crazy lovely serendipity, which was we went to college with a lovely woman named Sass Goldberg, and she and Benj were together. It happened to be at the same place, like on vacation. And he mentioned to her, completely offhand, she said,
Scott was ribbing me about how often I play on vacation on Instagram. So that's
a lot of the stories have to do with vacation. But like they were just kind of having a conversation, and she was like, "Oh, when I get back to New York, I'm going into or LA, wherever it was. I'm going back into the writers' room. I'm joining this season the writers' room for Only Murders in the Building." And he was like, "Oh my gosh, we are huge fans of that show," and saying it in Benj's typical like way of like, even if it has no like, just trying to create a path where there isn't one. He was like, if there's ever a song, like if you needed like a ditty or something, whatever, like we're just thinking
I was like hawking our wares like for free.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And like there was no music in the show necessarily. Like there was no plot of any of this, but it's like, if you ever need something, just like, like we'll do it. We love this show. We live on the Upper West Side. He was just like hawking our credentials of why we should be part of the Only Murders in the Building.
She is our friend of 20 years, so she does
exactly.
It's very Tin Pan Alley of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Take my wares.
Anybody need a song? So yeah.
And whatever the hell else you want to put in there.
It was that. And then
she calls back literally a week later, and she's like, so not only do they might want a song, but the entire plot around this season hinges upon a fictional musical. And I brought up that you guys might be interested in working on it. And they were like,
great.
Are you guys to work on it? And so it was very serendipitous in that way. And we knew that there were going to be a couple of song moments. And so just honestly to seize the moment of getting to work with some of our favorite folks, and also sort of knowing the beautiful reciprocity of what the gift that they gave us on Smash, but also just like we have always wanted to work with Mark and Scott on something, and we're such huge fans. This seemed like such a fun opportunity to get to collaborate.
I'm sure Sarah Bareilles was the first call, but that's okay.
How dare you, sir?
No, what was cool was that we knew what some of these moments were pretty early on. And so we sort of had decided when they said, okay, this is actually real, would you want to do it? We said, yes, but could we bring along some of our favorite people that we just want an excuse to work with? And we sort of knew that we'd have a fun carrot to dangle, honestly, to be like, hey, I mean, everyone that we know loves this show or watches this show or loves the people on this show. Like, it's just there's all kinds of goodwill around it, and we're huge fans ourselves. And so we sort of knew this is a great chance to work with some of our favorite writers and our favorite like musical theater idols, because we can go to them and say, hey, do you want to work with us writing a song for Steve Martin? Or do you want to go, do you want to come along and write a song with us for Meryl Streep? So there was sort of that built in, like this, this is a fun show, a great spirit of collaboration on the show itself. They're getting the best. It's all about Broadway. They're getting the best people on Broadway already. Half of them are already on the show, but it's going to be a whole thing about Broadway. There was going to be an episode about a sitz probe and about like, curtain coming down. Like, it's just like, it's so crazy to us. There's a TV show on now with these guys and Selena Gomez that's centering all around Broadway this season. And so we're like, why don't we continue that spirit? And let's bring along some of our favorite friends. And these gentlemen kindly said yes to us, even though they were highly skeptical of what the heck that was going to look like. Maybe skeptical of us. I don't know. But they kindly said, yes, let's get in a room and see what the heck happens.
Well, as you can tell from Justin's last speech, the idea of getting a word in edgewise just seemed like, how would we write together? But the truth is, we got together and the four of us started writing lyrics in the most fantastic way, the same way that Scott and I do it, and obviously the same way that Justin and Benj do it. We were just the four of us throwing out stuff. And usually I'm like very good at remembering, I wrote that on things, which is obnoxious,
Oh, yeah.
but I do remember those things. But in this case, I can look at the lyric and go, I think, but I'm not sure. We were all just going at it equally. And it was just fantastic.
Because we had never written with anyone else, except for Bette Midler a few times where we wrote songs with her. But I really felt like getting in the room was like taking all our clothes off together. So we did that, and it worked out well. So I got.
I love being naked with you guys.
The poll quote just revealed itself.
I'm already writing it.
Oh God.
How do you physically, like, I mean, I guess not physically, logistically, like, how did you start the song? Was it just lyrics and rhythm stuff? Because I imagine you don't necessarily need a piano to get started on this kind of thing.
Well, everything starts with a story. So we worked from a script and an outline of what the character was going to, what the plot of the mystery was. So we started with Pickwick, and that has a lot of alliteration. So that was the beginning of it, I think.
Yeah, we worked really collaboratively with John Hoffman, who was really trying to hone in on what is the idea specifically of this patter song, and even the fact that it was going to be a patter song, and that the plot hinged around having a really tough song to be able to sing was then a fun challenge for us of how do we then reverse engineer something that would feel like a challenge to be able to perform. And then, as Scott is saying, like, how do we make that incredibly alliterative, or how do we allow it to be complex and tongue twisty and all of that? And that began to inform our process. And then honestly, the four of us were just in a room starting with lyric first. And I mean, the first line that we wrote was, which of the Pickwick Triplets did it? And then it's like, okay, what rhymes with did it, and then you begin to, it's like having a flashlight and you can only see a little bit in front of you, and things get revealed, and everyone just is piping up and contributing different ideas, and slowly but surely, we got a little bit further down the path together.
You kind of touched on, like, so much was made of Steve Martin's character not being able to do this throughout the season. Like, how was it when he actually got the song? Is it as much of a challenge as it's made out to be for someone?
It is a challenge, yes, to sing, yes. And I think he really loved the song, and I think he was very happy when he was done with it. It was so a combination of the two. But he worked extremely hard. It was hard. It was a lot of pre-records and singing live, and
yeah,
he had to wrap his tongue around all those vowels. So yes,
I was going to ask if the one that's the full version that's in the show was recorded. The vocals were recorded live, or if that was pre-recorded, or was it kind of a mix?
It's a little bit of a mix. Well, what ended up in the TV broadcast is a little bit of a mix, because you always go in. Typically, you're going to go in with pre-record that is the plan. But then, and what's actually amazing is that number. And I can't remember what caused the delay, but there was like some days got pushed and stuff. And so they ended up having like 2 or 3 hours to shoot that number in what was supposed to be like a whole day shoot or something like that. And so it was like, and of course of all the numbers that get like squeezed like that is like really of this one. And so it's just even much more impressive. It's that much more impressive when you watch Steve execute it, knowing that he was literally like under the gun, like on the clock, like crazy.
It was adorable too, because Marty had rapped and Merrill had rapped, and they all stayed to watch Steve do it. And it was really sweet.
So cool.
It's a very lovely group up there. They really enjoy each other.
Oh, that's great. It feels like it even watching the show. It seems like that's kind of the energy, which is great.
And in my whole life in show business, this is one of the only things we wrote that there were no notes. So I'll get from
I think that's true. I mean, we made, I don't know if you've seen the video. The guys have posted some of it. We made a video of just us reciting the lyrics with Justin and I just playing a little bit. And yeah, they just kind of went, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Well, we worked hard on it, guys. I mean,
yeah.
It was, I think that was hopefully due to the good work that we all did together, and also really careful plotting from John and the writer's room. They knew how they wanted to use the song. We had so much direction. And like, I think another thing with the writing process that was so fun for us was just like, I feel like a lot of what we did was reverse engineering. So like just sitting around thinking, what's the most delicious pairings of like murder and infanthood, you know what I mean? What are our fun rhymes of like an investigation and babies, you know what I mean? So like, how can we pair these things up? And like, it was really like in the best way, the one-upmanship of like, what is this? Oh no, we can add one more rhyme in there and whatever. And then once we had all those assembled, okay, this is our arsenal here. How do we put these to use in creating a song where we can, and there were some things that we were like, this is so good, but we can't squeeze it in. But a lot of it was really loving. And look, a patter song like this is like a sort of a puzzle anyway. So it was really sort of like identifying some of our favorite pieces and then putting them together. And it was like, how zany can we be? How far can we go? I don't know if the video that Marc is talking about, if you listen closely, you'll hear us say, will a baby get fried for matricide? And the one note, we did get one note. And the note was, I don't think we want to put on the broadcast the image of an infant in an electric chair. So we're going to say, will the baby get tried? Which was equally fitting and makes sense to, a courtroom and a case and a murder. They didn't want to evoke, electrifying a young toddler.
But everything else, we went there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing. Props for getting the word triptych in a song too.
I know we were all thrilled. We literally were dancing with joy that we figured that one out.
Was there anything you used as kind of a reference or an example in terms of like great patter songs that you wanted in mind as you were writing?
I'm sure lingering in all of our heads is Modern Major General in some way. I don't know that you can ever escape it just because it looms large in the pantheon of great patter songs. But I don't know, anything else that strikes you guys?
Just say Gilbert and Sullivan.
Gilbert and Sullivan or some Lerner and Lowe stuff. I don't know. I think we didn't reference anything directly. I think we just all come from, we all love classic Broadway show tunes as well. So just having a really similar pool of references to draw on, just collectively, if we wouldn't name them, as we sort of all identified the same kind of style that we thought it should be in.
Some of Scott and mine and Scott, I never know the grammar there. We're often kind of told, that song is too wordy. Like we do like writing wordy songs. And sometimes on some shows we've been said like, it's so wordy that the audience kind of will tune out. So in this case, it was nice to be encouraged to be
embrace it. Yeah.
Well, and the moment that was engineered was really about paying attention to the lyric. You know, it really was, because what was so great about how John and the writers set up the song was that the audience is really invested in, can he say these lyrics? And so it's not something where you're distracted by other stage pictures that are going on or other things that are happening that are going to detract. So it allowed us to put as much dexterity and complicated, internal rhyme as possible, because the audience's only job really is to follow whether or not Charles Hayden Savage actually nailed the patter song. And so it really allowed us to maximize that element of it.
So it created an earworm long before they actually heard it. So that's sort of fun too. I think that the audience enjoyed that.
And then there's Steve's performance, which, that day I was there that day, Justin, and had to leave because they kept pushing it back.
Right.
And I forget I had to be at the show or something. I couldn't believe I'd sat there all day, but that's typical on a movie or TV. So I only saw it for the first time, that full version that they put out online. He's just so adorable. It was just a thrill.
Like, I remember texting, and I wasn't able to be there either. And I remember texting with some of the music team, and they were like, I don't know what we're going to do because we're only going to have maybe 2 hours to get this whole thing. And I think for all of us, of all the songs in this is just literally it was intentionally the most challenging of all of the songs, of all the moments. And so we were like, how are we going to shortchange this? But it wasn't shortchanged. It was Steve. I don't know. And I think at least the folks on the music team no one had ever seen him perform it. No one had seen him do what he was going to do. So everything that he broke out and all these crazy hand motions and his entire iteration of that song and that performance, I don't think anyone had ever seen before. That's just what he did on the day when cameras were rolling. It is. I say this about the performance of the song. The performance is iconic. It really is.
I was there. He attacked it right straight on. It was all in one take too, some of it. So most of it.
Incredible. Did you know, because I love the way that it's presented in the show when it's played in full, and then there's kind of these shots of everyone else kind of trying to solve the murder as it's happening. Did you know that it was going to be presented in that way and from start to finish? Because I feel like even that is rare in shows that feature musicals. Usually there's cut points and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's hard to cut away from that song though, because you'd lose the engine. So it would stall on the track.
No, it was just pleasing to see. Oh my God, it's all in there. Because we are used to eventually something gets cut or lost, and it was also great that they did it as it is on the episode with all the other things going on. But then the fact that they, nowadays it's so great that they can also present just him, so that there are these two versions to take in. It's
on Smash, we used to learn that if we keep changing keys, they couldn't cut.
Once it's in post, it would be too hard to mash them together. Exactly. Well, I was going to say, it was fun. Is I think that it's sometimes these backing yourself into a corner things requires such ingenuity and creativity. I think that John Hoffman had assigned to us write a song that is chock full of story and words and lyrics and everything. So we did that. And then he was like, okay, actually, to everyone's point here, how am I going to cut away from this? What are we going to do? And I think born of that was this idea, let's do it like this sort of exciting, dynamic, moving, split screen kind of thing where we still track the action, but we're always watching him, not only because there's so many lyrics and so much story to follow, but also it's important to our story to see, does he pull it off or not? We don't want to cut away from that. So, it's what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention, or whatever, or say it backwards if that was what I was meant to say. But I think it created a really powerful, interesting moment. The fact that they couldn't cut away.
It doesn't necessarily sound like it, but Steve Martin is such an accomplished musician as well. Did he have any input or suggestions with this at all?
No, he really. I mean, it was
he had the music in front of him.
He never said anything like, could that be a C sharp minor instead of this or anything like that. I think he felt it was enough to just learn the song and be able to perform it. And then we had the evil Ian, co-producing the vocal, who I never saw anything like. I thought I'm, something when I'm, working with a singer, and can you try it again? Try it this way, knowing that you can comp a vocal and take the best of this and that. But I never saw anything like this. But Steve Martin was incredibly patient and would just try anything any of us suggested, a different line reading. He was like, no, give me a line reading. Sing it to me the way you think. And he would just try it like 8 different ways. It was phenomenal. He's Steve Martin.
But I was wondering who orchestrated this, because the orchestration is beautiful.
The orchestrator was a incredibly talented fellow named August Eriksman, who we've worked with before. I don't know if Mark and Scott, you guys have worked with him before, but no. August is just great, and has orchestrated like a number of. What's great about August is that his style, diversity is really off the charts. So he's done. Even in our own work, he's done some more contemporary stuff. He's done a lot of classic Broadway kind of stuff. So his abilities really run the gamut. And the first time that I saw this chart, I was like, okay, this is gonna be. He was like, can I go there? And we are like, yes, you have to go there. So and it's a really I think we're so grateful that the show and the network and the studio, everybody really committed to. We want to make this feel like a big Broadway musical. And you watch on screen in that set that they built at United Palace, having an orchestra that was a really nice size orchestra record and getting the proper time to do it. It was on screen, an ode to Broadway, a love letter to Broadway, but off screen as well. Really from getting Broadway songwriters to orchestrators to the orchestra to doing it sort of the right way. It felt really beautiful that there was such a love and respect for how things get done.